You deserve to be happy.
Time heals all wounds.
Helpful?
Harmful.
Just because it's trending doesn't make it true. This season, we will hold up these trite sayings alongside truth.
We are your hosts, Susan Tyner
and Karen Hodge. You're listening to the Encourage Podcast. Well, welcome back, friends, to the final episode in this series. Just because it's trending doesn't make it true. And if you have gone on this little joy journey with us, thanks for taking the ride with us.
Oh, I'm so sad this one's over. I mean, there is something kind of like skating close to the edge, which I'm not a risky person, but this is as much risk as I can handle. It has been so fun. And I've just been convicted too, like I buy into this. Like, these are not worldly things. These are things we say at Bible study.
They are. And I tell you what, I have caught myself over the last 8 weeks just reaching in my back pocket for one of these little pithy platitudes. Because I just thought, I'm too tired. I don't know what else to say, and so we've covered the waterfront. A lot of it has to do with you. And you do you, like take time for yourself. You deserve it. My truth, my voice. If you believe you can change, you can change. Let go and let God. I mean, we've covered a lot of different ones. I'm sure I'm leaving one out. Today we're going to try to cover the impossible one. When God closes a door, he opens a window. But are there any of those that kind of just stand out to you that maybe you reach for maybe more often than not?
It would be today's probably.
Because that's the one you do. Okay.
I think this one would be the one although I really do the Jesus take the wheel sometimes. I really do still go, it's just an instinct of Jesus. I've screwed this up. Please, I don't know why I grabbed that wheel in the first place.
Yeah. And maybe it's because I am in the treadmill of trying to please other people and make them happy. That one for me, I just want you to be happy. And I just want you to be happy with me. I just want you to be happy with the world. I just want to do whatever we can so that everybody should just be happy for just 1 minute. And, we could just cease striving, and just everything would just be okay. Yeah. And I just realized the elusiveness of that, and sometimes the Lord brings us to the end of these hollow sayings, like we're just so thirsty for truth because we're like, it's vacuous. I mean, these things we've been saying all along, there's an element of truth in there, but when you really try to run that out in life, you try to run that out in a relationship, you're like, this is not going to go the distance.
No, it's not. And that's why your intention in saying these things to people is so sweet. And so you really want to help their suffering. Maybe you kind of want to let them stop complaining to you too and end the conversation, but it's not. It is, again, a Band-Aid when surgery is needed. And I think people, even if you give them this, I think in their heart, they feel like you just put a Band-Aid on something that's an open wound. And they need somebody to show them where the surgeon is. And if we always just keep on giving them Band-Aids, they don't get to Jesus. But it is what we reach for, because I can fit a Band-Aid in my back pocket, but I cannot fit a Bible in my back pocket sometimes. So
we gotta hide it in our heart.
Hide my heart. But it's going to take 30 minutes to get that out and 30 seconds to get the Band-Aid out.
Exactly.
So I can go home and eat lunch or whatever.
Exactly. You know who you are out there that carry around with your list and your Band-Aids and everything else that you're prepared for triage in your purse. So today, as we look at when God closes a door, he opens a window. We've talked about, we often look for different sources of truth. Authoritative things that influence us. And so, Susan, you confessed to us as we jumped on here that you actually went to AI with this one, and because it can get a little convoluted in how this, truly would turn up on a plaque in Hobby Lobby.
Yeah. I have been known to use ChatGPT. If you can't beat them, join them. And I was just curious, like, when did this start being a thing? And ChatGPT, if I didn't know better, I'd say he is one of the members of our, like, somebody I know who read the Bible, because it was pretty spot on, which is a little scary too, I know. So this is what Chat told me. He said, I don't know what gender it is. It's a mashup, they said, of legit verses. Now that may be me summarizing. God opens doors no one can shut, from Revelation 3:7. God provides a way, 1 Corinthians 10:13. And God works all things for good, Romans 8:28. And it basically is saying, it's not in the Bible, but it's a mashup of things in the Bible. And of course, when it's not the actual truth, it's squirrely. And if you do squirrely, it ends, squirrely little doesn't look big. Well, duh. Squirrely little.
Profound.
Yeah. Oh, she's so smart. Let's get her on a podcast. Squirrely in the little part of your life doesn't make much difference. But once you let it be squirrely all your life, you're going to be in a real trouble later. And so that's what this little pithy saying does. It sounds so biblical. And I think because it does for me, what it's saying, what I think you're really, you're saying what a biblical thought of impulse, maybe that's impulse, is it's saying what you feel Romans 8:28 says is it's going to work out for good because you love Jesus and he loves you. Like it looks like a disaster, and it probably is a disaster to your earthly sensitivity. And God is the only person that can take like crazy bad things, and it somehow is our good. And we see that in Jesus's death. So, but I think I'm putting words into Chat's words. It's close, but it's no cigar. It's like, it's almost there. But let me tell you this. I started thinking, okay, on the road to Emmaus, when the two disciples are walking and they are upset because guess what? God has closed the door. Does Jesus say, oh, but there's a window. You just go home and there's a window coming because when he closes a door, a window opens up? No. He said, y'all, the door is still the door and it's open. You think it's closed, but it's not. So I think it just feeds into I need the fairy tale to end. I need the gymnast to stick that landing. I need to know that this is worth paying. I need to know that I'll get what I want. It's just not through the door. It'll be through the window, but I still am getting what I want. And sometimes God had that door painted shut so you couldn't get to what you want because that would be very bad for you. Back to the I just want you to be happy episode.
Yeah. And I think that, not to be the Sunday school lady, but all the verses that you read are in the Bible, but they're taken out of context. Mm-hmm. And so, I mean, I think that's what we want to do, right? We take the parts we like and then we cut away the parts that we don't want. So if we go to Romans 8:28, then the next verse, it says, you're predestined to be conformed to the image of Christ. Well, how's that going to happen? How are we going to become much more like Jesus, right? So those things go together, right? And same thing in like Philippians 4:13, like people love that. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. But if you look at all the verses above it, Paul's talking about how he's learned to be content in whatever, and whether it's, plenty or loss or suffering and pain or in joy. And so, I mean, I think what we want really is that patchwork quilt of Christianity. We want to just cut out the parts of the Bible we like.
Yeah.
Or maybe if you're not a patchwork quilt kind of girl, maybe it's a portrait wall. We get all the little sayings that we like from the Bible, the verses. Mm-hmm. Now you can't have a long verse. You got to have like just a singular verse. So we don't want to get the whole context, but we just make our portrait wall based on the aspirational life that we want, right? Mm-hmm. We want to be the writer of our narrative. Yeah. We don't want to just say how do I reframe the narrative of what's going on in my life? into the bigger narrative of Scripture. We want to be the author. We want to be the creator. We want to be the person who knows the end of the story. And so when we say things like, when God closes a door, he opens a window. When I've said it before, honestly, when somebody's suffering and we say something like this, it is truly unkind.
Mm-hmm.
But I have said it to people, and the reason why I've said it is because I just need you to wrap it up and tie it in a bow. I need this to be over. I don't have the margin to walk through this with you. Yeah. I'll take a step with you and I'll say something pithy, like when God closes the door, he opens a window, but I don't want to walk the distance with you. I mean, let's just get this over with. In other words, I want to give you a formula to make it all better. And, like there's some kind of option out there, right? And yet this door and this window, like you said, could just be facades.
Oh yeah. I mean, and again, what was on the other side of that door? Maybe God shut that and the window so you wouldn't do something stupid or that's going to harm you or others. I just keep on going back. The heart, it just is deceitful above all things. I can look at things and go, that's God opened that window for me even. And I'll think that that's permission to go there. But even the windows, if you open, he's not, I think we want to have signs that we're doing the right thing. And I can say, well, he shut that door, but then he opened this window of this job, so I took it. And it's just, I don't know, it's all feels like a feeling decision process. It also, I think the reason I would say this to somebody is because the sentiment I'm trying to convey in a very short sentence that she'll get or he'll get, because it's so in our culture, is, I know this is hard and you don't have hope, and I just need you to have hope that something is coming. So don't stop. I don't want them to stop believing Jesus. I don't want them to give up on the Christian faith. I need them to stay in the game. So I just want to keep hope alive. And so hope sounds like there's a window to the same thing that the door was to. And it's just this in the path. And, I get it. Like, this is it's kind of true in the sense that you never know how God is going to rule your life so that you may become a Christian because things did not seem to be working out. I mean, I don't know the mind of God. I just know the mind of me. And me says, I want something. And if it looks like a window God's opening, then I have permission to do it. And no, not if it doesn't measure up to Scripture. Not if my wise friends are saying, are you sure you need to do that? And you're like, what? He closed the door and this must be the window he's opening. So I don't know. I tend to maybe use it because I want people to still have hope. And a hopeless person is really hard. Like, to be a person like that and to watch it is so painful. And which is so dumb, because the thing I could say instead of a window is Jesus. Jesus, I don't know would you say this to a woman who just lost her child? There's no window when your child passes away. Would you say this when a widow is at a graveside of her husband of 50 years and they are missing all their retirement trips they had booked? Do you say there's a window for that? There's no window for that closed door. So it's just not right. And it's kind of mean if you're doing that, because you're just like looking at that person like, well, go find the window and you'll be better. That's not what Jesus says.
Right. Yeah. And I love that you brought up even just like the road to Emmaus, when essentially the disciples are like, okay, we look back in the Old Testament and we're trying to put together all the dots. And Jesus says, well, everything in the law, in the prophets, in the Psalms is speaking about me. I am the door. I am the door.
Yeah, there you go.
Go forward.
That's a good segue, Karen. That's a good segue.
And I think, why am I so quick to try to slap a formula or a Band-Aid on someone who's suffering, is because I actually think I can understand the sovereignty of God. I can put it in a box. I can slap it on with a Band-Aid. And instead of saying, we don't know what God is doing. He's always doing more than we know that he's doing. He's always doing more than we can see. And he's always going to accomplish it for his glory and our good. But I can only see and I can't even see clearly, but I can only see a portion of what's going on right now. I don't see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
And I think that when we feel the temptation to want to minimize someone's pain, and, first of all, it's not really loving. And love also always has to slow down. Love, when you love somebody, you're going to have to walk slower, listen more, serve more, persevere. Love slows you down. And when love slows us down, when we're in a hurry, we tend to reach for these kind of statements. And so let's think biblically about this. I mean, how can we accept that God is God? We are not. Like for me, one of the things that comes to mind is, who am I to think that I can be God's counselor and I can tell him how this person should be fixed? Or this is the path forward for this person. In other words, the door and the window is essentially my presupposition of what their path should be. As Paul says in Romans there in chapter 11, verse 33 through 6, who has known the mind of the Lord, who has become his counselor, who has given a gift to him that it might be repaid, for from him and through him and to him are all things, to him be the glory forever and ever. Amen. Like, who am I to sit down and say, I know how God's going to provide. I know what God's going to do. That's what this verse says. I mean, who do you think you are, Karen? That you think you're God's counselor, and you can actually, like in the economy of faith, that you can pay him back for all the things that he has done, or that he's going to provide in a certain way. No, you are just a pipe. I'm going to use you like a pipe. Everything's from him and through him, and he gets all the glory. You're never going to get the credit. You're never going to see the whole big picture. Mm-hmm. But when I stand and say, you know what? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know how God's going to, then that's a moment of worship to say, God is God and I am not. And that's actually one of the most loving things we can say to somebody is, you know what? I don't know, but God does.
Yeah, because you know what? That's actually true and real, and the other's not. You even, as you hear it, if you're in that suffering position, honestly, I don't even know how this gives you hope. It just makes you feel not seen. And I think you're right about love requires a slowness. When you see someone with this kind of despair, where you're wanting them to have hope or to believe God is going to provide, like they're going to get what makes them happy. I don't know, fill in the blank. It's no one, like, let's say your boyfriend breaks up with her and you say, God is closing this door, but he's going to open a window, which we all know means a better boyfriend. And whoever promised that to us in the Bible, whoever promised you would have a baby, whoever promised you would get married, whoever promised you would be healthy all your life, whoever promised you would, never get divorced, like this, there's something wrong here about like honestly, what I need is somebody to say what you just said, which is, I don't understand either. Like I feel you and I see you. And it's like Job, what you're saying, we're all like Job. Well, I better just put my hand over my mouth, because God does do crazy stuff. Like that whole ostrich thing. I don't know why he made a bird that can't fly. That makes no sense to me. But yet he runs really fast, and God thinks that is awesome to watch. And so you may have some ostrich moves. Do you want to say, oh, no, I'm going to have a promise that really God didn't say? I'm going to offer that to some woman who's suffering. That's like adding pain upon pain to get her hopes up for a specific answer to prayer or specific want she has. When we are promised what we need, we will have.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you brought up Job, because really his friends are the ones who say all these things that we've been talking about.
That's right. That's right.
The last one we can say is curse God and die. You know, I mean, that's what that's the final
the wife.
really helpful friends of Job. And I'm just like them. I walk in their sandals. Right. So, Susan, is there anything that gives you hope, like in the scriptures, or perhaps sharing a story of how somebody maybe, you know, like maybe in Job's friend's case, maybe they just need to sit down and be with Job instead of saying something. But
when I'm in this position, I remember one time I wanted something so badly. My husband even agreed. Usually he was stopping me from doing crazy stuff, but he was like, I think this is a good idea. I think you should go for it. And the answer was no. And I remember weeding my garden and singing Whatever My God Ordains Is Right. That hymn kicked in from childhood. And I just think this is why you take your kids to church and let them and make them sit in that pew with you and make them sing the songs, because one day they'll be weeding a garden and upset. And that is what will pop to mind. Not, well, God closed that door, he's going to open a window. If somebody had said that to me, in my essence, I would have known that's not true, because that's not what the Bible teaches. So it has helped me when people they agree with my pain. They say, I see why you feel that way. I get that is a hard feeling. But if the answer is not getting what I want, but instead Jesus, then I trust it, because I can't trust what I want. I may have wanted a bad thing and God just saved me. It's, you know, sure, maybe in God's timing, you will get that boyfriend. Maybe in God's timing, you will get that baby. Maybe I would get what I wanted. And actually, it turned out the timing wasn't good and the timing was great another time. But I couldn't depend on that working out for my happiness, my joy. And so when I'm in this position without hope, and I'm hurting and smarting and I'm disappointed and I feel even hopeless. Like, what's the point? I had a whole plan. Like those guys on the road to Emmaus, like they were like, our plan A just got shot out of the water. And I guess we go back to fish or something. Anyway, the answer for my peace cannot be it works out the way I want. Because how many times does that work? I don't get that much at all. But if my peace is resting on God is getting what he wants, then I can sit in my sorrow. I can hurt, but I can sit with somebody who says, I hear your hurt and I know Jesus offers you what's good for you. And let's remember that. Now, another thing I'll just pop into this as lagniappe is I'm not sure anybody needs to hear anything when they're hurting like this. Like, do you really sometimes you just need to give space for somebody to be sad and disappointed, and with the miscarriage, with the divorce, with the, just sitting with them in it. And I know Job's friends did it for 7 days, but we got to do it longer than that, girls.
Yeah. Yeah. This whole idea of love slowing us down. Well, first of all, let me make a comment. I love that your family helped you catechize your heart when you were a little kid, so that when you were having a hard day, whether it was the theology of a hymn or the truth found in scripture, we can preach it back to our own heart when our heart is downcast, when we are sad, like the psalmist said. But I do think that I've been thinking a lot about this love slowing us down. Actually, Paul Miller said it at our church a couple of weeks ago at the Praying Church conference. And I've noticed how God has been slowing me down in different places. And yet can tend to pull out a pithy, platitude or my clipboard and try to get her done, as I've confessed in this series. And he reminded me of last summer when I fell and was in a boot for 8 weeks. I met different people. And one of the people that I met reconnected with me, in the last couple of weeks. But honestly, I don't know what speed I was walking through hallways normally, like at a General Assembly when I had this boot on and different things I was doing in women's ministry. But I was not walking at the same pace as some of the people that I met because I had to walk slow.
Yeah.
And so there's something about when God slows us down a little bit that we begin to see things, we begin to hear things, and then we also maybe have time to sit. We think, okay, well, I could sit down with this person, and just listen, just be present, not feel like we have to say anything. But I've really been meditating on that a lot. Like, in other words, the reason why I want to say a lot of the things we've said in this series is just because I want to hurry up and for everything to be done with. And if I truly say that I love God and I love my neighbor, then I will be willing to be slowed down.
Yeah. It's all, and this is kind of associated with this pithy saying, but it's about trusting God's speed, the speed he puts on us, the speed he puts on the person we're trying to help, the timing of it. Like, I don't know, but I feel like at the core of a lot of this, especially this one, is I am uncomfortable in pain. I am uncomfortable in loss. I'm uncomfortable waiting. And therefore, I'm really uncomfortable watching you do the same thing. So I just, whether I say something to get out of there or I just say something like, here, have hope and get better. And now let's get back to normal. You know, there's something here about we're not really going where God's leading us, and we just don't want to. I'm like the sheep that's pushing against being led to this, you know, so I don't want to get sheared. I don't want to get sheared. And I don't know. Again, back to last week, I think we're cutting ourselves off from some real joy and closeness with Jesus. But yeah, this feels like a control of I want my way too. I just want my way.
Yeah. And
I want you to have your way so you don't be miserable around me.
That's right. Because it's uncomfortable and inconvenient. And really, servant leadership is willing to die to comfort and convenience. And our agenda and our timeline for in the lives of the people that we walk alongside of. And so we hope that this has been an encouragement to you. And perhaps as you listen through these episodes, it will change the way that you look at the world, that change the way you look across the table at a friend. It will change what you say or you don't say. It will encourage you to try to marinate yourself in Scripture so that the truth would be ever present on your lips and just overflowing and embodied in your life. I don't know. What are your hopes for our listeners as we close out?
Well, first hope, don't go tell everybody Karen and Susan said you shouldn't say that. Don't do that.
I hope you won't do that. Yes.
Please do not do that, because then they'll all hate us too. I hope that instead of a pithy saying, like you said, instead of having a Band-Aid in my back pocket, I have Jesus or a verse in my back pocket. They still need something, you know, they just need what is actually helpful. And to have that and to know and have discernment in the moment of what that is, I have to have experienced it myself. So I got to go down and I got to find the verses that have helped me. I've got to think about the others who have encouraged me. Think about how someone has listened but not fixed my problem, and that was okay. I just really, you being real with Jesus will help you be real with Jesus and give that to others. Love it. Well, it's been an encouragement to walk just a few more steps. Yes, we're stumbling forward together to tie it back to one of our other podcast series. We have not figured it all out. We say the wrong thing sometimes, but God is still good and He loves us. And it's been an encouragement to marinate on some of these ideas with you, Susan. Thanks so much for going along for the ride again. I love this ride. Well, we'll be back in a few weeks with a few Best of Leadership Training podcasts, and then Susan and I will come back with another series. So go out, have an encouraging week, and spread that encouragement to those around you. Bye. Bye. Thanks for listening to the Encourage Podcast, where we have one aim: to bring the hope of the gospel to the hearts of women. We've planned this year full of exciting connections, and we don't want you to miss a single one. So stay connected with us on our website, women.pcacdm.org. Consider sharing this episode with a friend and keep the conversation going. Or even better, giving to CDM so we can make this podcast available to women all over the world.
The Encourage Podcast is a production of CDM, the discipleship ministry of the PCA.